Second Chronicle chapter 24. Joash repairs the temple. Joash was 7 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 40 years. His mother was Zibiah from Beersheba. Joash did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight throughout the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada chose the 2 wives for Joash, and he had sons and daughters. At one point, Joash decided to restore the temple of the Lord. He summoned the priests and the Levites and gave them this instruction: go to all the towns of Judah and collect the required annually offering so that we can repair the temple of your God. Do not delay. But the Levites did not act immediately. So the king called for Jehoiada the high priest and asked him, why haven't you demanded that the Levites go out and collect the temple tax from the town of Judah and from Jerusalem? Moses, the servant of the Lord, levied this tax on the community of Israel in order to maintain the tabernacle of the covenant. Over the years, the followers of wicked Ataliah had broken into the temple of God, and they had used all the dedicated scenes from the temple of the Lord to worship the image of Baal. So now the king ordered a chest to be made and set outside the gate leading to the temple of the Lord. Then a proclamation was sent throughout Judah and Jerusalem, telling the people to bring to the Lord that tax that Moses, the servant of God, had required of Israelites in the wilderness. This pleased all the leader and the people, and they gladly brought the money and filled the chest with it. Whenever the chest became full, the Levites would carry it to the king's official. Then the court secretary and an official of the high priest would come and empty the chest and take it back to the temple again. This went on day after day, and a large amount of money was collected. The king and Jehoiada gave the money to the construction supervisor, who hired a mason and a carpenter to restore the temple of the Lord. They also hired metalwork, who made articles of iron and bronze for the Lord's temple. The men in charge of the renovation worked hard and made steady progress. They restored the temple of the God according to its original design and strengthened it. When all the repairs were finished, they brought the remaining money to the king and Jehoiada. It was used to make various articles for the temple of the Lord, articles for worship service and for burnt offering, including nettles and other articles made of gold and silver. And the burnt offering were sacrificed continuing in the temple of the Lord during the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada lived to a very old age, finally dying at 130. He was buried among the kings in the city of David because he had done so much good in Israel for God and his temple. Jehoiada's reform reversed, but after Jehoiada's death, the leader of Judah came and bowed before King Joash and persuaded him to listen to their advice. They decided to abandon the temple of the Lord, the God of the ancestor, and they worshipped Asherah pole and idols instead. Because of this sin, divine anger felt on Judah and Jerusalem. Yet the Lord sent the prophet to bring them back to him. The prophet warned them, but still the people would not listen. Then the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, son of Jehoiada the priest. He stood before the people and said, this is what the Lord God said. Why do you disobey the Lord's command and keep yourself from prospering? You have abandoned the Lord, and now he has abandoned you. Then the leader plot to kill Zechariah, and King Joash ordered that they stone him to death in the courtyard of the Lord temple. That was how King Joash repaid Jehoiada for his loyalty, by killing his son. Zechariah's last word was, as he died, were, may the Lord see what they are doing and avenge my death. The end of Joash's reign. In the spring of the year, the Aramean army marched against Joash. They invaded Judah and Jerusalem and killed all the leaders of the nation. Then they sent all the plunder back to the king in Damascus. Also, the Ammonites attacked with only a small army. The Lord helped them conquer much larger army of Judah. The people of Judah had abandoned the Lord, the God of the ancestors, so judgment was carried out against Joash. The army withdrew, leaving Joash severely wounded, but his own official plot to kill him for murdering the son of Judas the priest. They assassinated him as he lay in bed. Then he was buried in the city of David, but not in the royal cemetery. The assassin was Jessica, the son of an Amorite woman named Simis, the daughter the son of a Moabite woman named Shomer. The account of the sons of Joash, the prophecy about him, and the record of his restoration of the temple of God was written in the same commentary on the book of the king. His son Amaziah becomes the next king. 2 Chronicle chapter 25. Amaziah ruled in Judah. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother was Jehoiada from Jerusalem. Amaziah did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, but not wholeheartedly. When Amaziah was well established as king, he executed the official who had assassinated his father. However, he did not kill the children of the assassin. For he obeyed the command of the Lord as written by Moses in the book of the law. Parents must not be put to death for the sin of their children, nor children for the sin of their parents. Those deserving to die must be put to death for their own crimes. Then Amaziah organized the army, assigned the general and the captain for all Judah and Benjamin. He took a census and found that he had an army of 300,000 select troops, 20 years old and older, all trained in the use of spear and shield. He also paid about 7,500 pounds of silver to hide 100,000 experienced fighting men from Israel. But a man of God came to him and said, Your Majesty, do not hire troops from Israel, for the Lord is not with Israel. He will not help those people of Ephraim. If you let them go with your troops into battle, you will be defeated by the enemy, no matter how well you fight. God will overthrow you, for he has the power to help you or to trip you up. Amaziah asked the man of God, But what about all the silver I paid to hire the army of Israel? The man of God replied, The Lord is able to give you much more than this. So Amaziah discharged the hired troops and sent them back to Ephraim. This made them very angry with Judah, and they returned home in a great rage. So Amaziah summoned his courage and led his army to the valley of Salt, where they killed 10,000 Admin troops from Syria. They captured another 10,000 and took them to the top of the cliff and threw them off, dashing them into pieces on the rock below. Meanwhile, the hired troops that Amaziah had sent home raided several of the towns of the Judah between Samaria and Beth-horon. They killed 3,000 people and carried off a great quantity of plunder. When King Amaziah returned from slaughter the Edomites, he brought with his idol a take from the people of Syria. He set them up as his own god, bowed down in front of them and offered sacrifice to them. This made the Lord very angry, and he sent a prophet to ask, Why do you turn to God who could not even save their own people from you? But the king interrupted him and said, Since when I have made you the king's counselor, be quiet now before I have you killed. So the prophet stopped with this warning. I know that God has determined to destroy you because you have done this and have refused to accept my counsel. After consulting with his advisor, King Amaziah of Judah sent this challenge to Israel's king Joash, the son of Joash and the grandson of Jehu, Come and meet me in battle. But King Joash of Israel replied to King Amaziah of Judah with this story. Out in the Lebanon mountain, a Sarah sent a message to mighty cedar tree, Give your daughter in marriage to my son. But just then a wild animal of Lebanon came by and stepped on the tree and crushed it. You are saying, I have defeated Adam, and you are very proud of it. But my advice is to stay at home. Why stir up trouble that you will only bring disaster on you and the people of Judah. But Amaziah refused to listen, for God was determined to destroy him for turning to the God of Adam. So King Joash of Israel mobilized his army against the king Amaziah of Judah. The two armies drew up their battle line at Bethshem in Judah. Judah was routed by the army of Israel, and his army scattered and fled for home. King Joshua of Israel captured Judah's king Amaziah, son of Joash and grandson of Ahaziah at Bethshem. Then he brought him to Jerusalem, where he demolished 600 feet of Jerusalem's wall from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate. He carried off all the gold and the silver and all the articles from the temple of God that had been in the care of Obed-Edom. He also seized the treasure of the royal place among his hostage, and they returned to the Samaria. King Amaziah of Judah lived for 15 years after the death of Joash of Israel. The rest of the event in Amaziah's reign from beginning to end, and I record the book of the king of Judah and Israel. After Amaziah turned away from the Lord, there was a conspiracy against his life in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But his enemies sent assassins after him, and they killed him there. They brought his body back on a horse, and he was buried with his ancestor in the city of David. Chapter 26. Uzziah ruled in Judah. All the people of Judah had crowned Amaziah's 16-year-old son, Uzziah, as king in place of his father. After his father's death, Uzziah rebuilt the town of Alas and restored it to Judah. Uzziah was 16 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 52 years. His mother was Jechiliah from Jerusalem. He did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, just as his father Amaziah had done. Uzziah sought God during the day of Zechariah, who taught him to fear God. And as long as the king sought guidance from the God gave him success. Uzziah declared war on the Philistines and broke down the wall of Gath, Jabneh, and Ashdod. Then they built new towns in the Asher area and in the other part of Philistia. God helped him in his war against the Philistines, his battle with the Arab of Gar, and his war with the Meunites. The Meunites paid the annual tribute to him, and his fame spread even to Egypt, for he had become very powerful. Uzziah built a fortress town in Jerusalem at the corner gate, at the valley gate, and the angel in the wall. He also constructed a fort in the wilderness and dug many water cisterns, because he kept great herd of livestock in the foothill of Judah and on this place. He was also a man who loved the soil. He had many workers who cared for his farm and the vineyard, both on the hillside and in the fertile valley. Uzziah had an army of well-trained warriors ready to march into battle, unit by unit. This army had been mastered and organized by Jael, the secretary of the army, and his ancestor Maaseiah. They were under the direction of Hananiah, one of the king's officers. The regiment of mighty warriors were commanded by 2,600 clan leaders. The army consisted of 307,500 men, all allied troops. They were prepared to assist the king against any enemy. Uzziah provided the enemy entire army with shield, spear, helmet, coat of mail, bow, and ceiling stone, and he built a structure on the wall of Jerusalem, designed by experts to protect those who shot arrows and hurled large stones from the town and the corner of the wall. His fame spread far and wide, for the Lord gave him marvelous help, and he became very powerful. Uzziah's sin and punishment. But when he became very powerful, he also became proud, which led to his downfall. He sinned against the Lord his God by entering the sanctuary of the Lord's temple and personally burned the incense on the incense altar. Azariah, the highest priest, went in after him with 80 other priests of the Lord, all brave men. They confronted King Uzziah said, "It is not for you, Uzziah, to burn the incense to the Lord. That is the work of the priests alone, the descendants of Aaron, who are set apart for this work. Get out of the sanctuary, for you have sinned. The Lord God will not honor you for this." Uzziah, who was holding an incense burner, became furious. But as he was standing there, strange as the priest before the incense altar in the Lord's temple, leprosy suddenly broke out on his forehead. When Azir, the high priest, and all the other priests saw that leprosy, they rushed him out. And the king himself was eager to get out because the Lord had struck him. So King Uzziah had leprosy until the day he died. He lived in isolation in a separate house, for he was excluded from the temple of the Lord. His son Joash was put in the charge of royal palace, and he governed the people of the land. The rest of the events of Uzziah's reign, from beginning to end, are recorded by the people of Isaiah, son of Amos. When Uzziah died, he was buried with his sister. His grave was in a nearby burial field belonging to the king, for the people said he has a leprosy, and his son just becomes the next king. Chapter 27. Joash reigned in Judah. Joash was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 60 years. His mother was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. Joseph did what was pleasing in the Lord's eye. He did everything his father Uzziah had done, except that Joseph did not sin by entering the temple of the Lord. But the people continued in their corrupt way. Joseph rebuilt the upper gate of the temple, the gate north. He also did extensive rebuilding on the wall at the hill of Ophir. He built town in the hill country of Judah and constructed forest and the town in the wooded area. Joshua went to war against the Amorites and conquered them. Over the next 3 years, he received from them an annual tribute of 7,500 pounds of silver, 50,000 bushels of wheat, and 50,000 bushels of barley. King Joseph became powerful because he was careful living in the obedience of the Lord his God. The rest of the events of Joseph's reign, including all his war and other activity, are recorded in the book of the king of Israel and Judah. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 60 years old. When Joseph died, he was buried in the city of David, and his son Ahaz became the next king. Chapter 28. Ahaz ruled in Judah. Ahaz was 20 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 60 years. He did not do what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord, as his ancestor David had done. Instead, he followed the example of the king of Israel. He cast a metal image for the worship of Baal. He offered a sacrifice in the valley of Ben Hinnom, even sacrificed his own son in the fire. In this way, he followed the detestable practice of the pagan nation the Lord had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. He offered sacrifice and burned incense at the pagan shrine on the hill under a very green tree. Because of all this, the Lord his God allowed the king of Aram to defeat Ahaz and to exile the large number of his people to Damascus. The army of the king of Israel also defeated Ahaz and inflicted many casualties on his army. In a single day, Pekah, son of Israel king, killed 120 thousands of Judah's troops. All of them experienced war because they had abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors. Then Zikri, a warrior from Ephraim, killed Manasseh, the king's son. Asri, the king of Palis, commanded the army, and the king of second in command the army. Caesar captured 200,000 women and children from Judah and seized tremendous amount of plunder, which they took back to Samaria. But a prophet of the Lord named Odem was there in Samaria when the army of Israel returned home. He went out to meet them and said, "The Lord, the God of your ancestor, was angry with Judah and let you defeat it. But you have gone too far, killed them without mercy, and all heavens is disturbed. And now you are planning to make a slave of these people from Judah and Jerusalem. What about your own sin against the Lord your God? Listen to me and return this prisoner you have taken, for they are your own relative. Watch out, because now the Lord fears our anger has been turned against you." Then some of the leaders of the Israel Azra son of Jeremy, Benjamin son of Many, the Jacqueline son of Sam, and the seven son agree with this and confront the men returned from battle. You must not bring the prisoner here, they declare. We cannot afford to add to our sin and guilt. Our guilt is already great, and the Lord's fiercer anger is already turned against Israel. So the warriors released the prisoner and handed over the plunder in the sign of the leader and all the people. Then the four men just mentioned by name come forward and distribute clothes from the plunder to the prisoners who were naked. They provide clothing and sandals to wear, give them enough food and drink, and dress their wound with olive oil. Then they put those who were weak on donkey and took all the prisoners back to their own people in Jericho, the city of Palm. Then they returned to Samaria. Ahaz closed the temple. At the time the king of Judah asked the king of Assyria for help, the army of the Edom had again invaded Judah and taken captive. And the Philistine has raised towns located in the foothill of Judah and in the Negev of Judah. They have already captured and occupied Beth-Shemesh, Ajalon, Gedros, Soko with his village, Teman with his village, and Gimzo with his village. The Lord was humbling Judah because of King Ahaz of Judah, for he has encouraged his people to sin and had been utterly unfaithful to the Lord. So when King Tiglath-Pileser of Ashur arrived, he attacked Ahaz instead of help him. Ahaz took a valuable item from the Lord temple and the royal palace and from the home of his office and gave them to the king of Assyria as tribute, but this did not help him. Even during this time of trouble, King Ahaz continued to reject the Lord. He offered sacrifice to the god of Damascus, who has defeated him, for he said, "Since this god helped the king of Aram, they will help me too if I sacrifice to them." But instead they led to his ruin and the ruin of all Judah. The king took the various articles from the temple of God and broke them into pieces. He shut the door of the Lord's temple so that no one could worship there, and he set up an altar to pagan God in every corner of Jerusalem. He made pagan shrines in all the town of the Judah for offering sacrifice to other gods. In this way, he aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of his ancestor. The rest of the evil of the Ahaziah reign and everything he did from the beginning of the end and are recorded in the book of the king of Judah and Israel. When Ahaziah died, he was buried in Jerusalem, but not in the royal ceremony of king of Judah. Then his son Hezekiah became next king. And then we will go into the chapter 29. So those separate chapters is talking about Joash, King Joash. King Joash was good under the high priest lead, but after the high priest died, Joash became bad. So that is to give us some idea. We need some leaders, guiders, and follow God's guide. And then his descendants, some was good, some was bad, like Uzziah, King Uzziah. King Uzziah was good, but then he became arrogant and proud, and he got leprous because he burned incense in the temple. Basically, the king cannot do that, and only the priest, Aaron's descendants. Also, his father was defeated some enemy, but then he became arrogant, and then he defeated by king of Israel. And then their grandson get another king, and that why is totally Isaiah is totally bad. It's really bad. So that's why God is very angry his action, and he got punishment. He ruined the whole king of Judah. But even though his son become to another king, which is Hezekiah. So then that will be tomorrow's story. Alright, so that's today's Bible's learning. Hope everyone like it. God bless everyone. Let's see you tomorrow.